What's up, Digidestins? This is Kyle D, better known as RideMyAvatar, and today we have Italy and a Latam event we're going to talk about. So we're going to look at all the cool decks that were brought to the table. So without further ado, let's dive in the video and talk about it. So you guys know that we like to cover all the big events that go on. So Italy's offline regional first. We're going to take a look here. We had none other than a grand total of 6 Megidramon, 3 Gallantmon X's, 3 Royal Knights, 1 Phoenixmon, 1 Seadramon, 1 Magna X, and 1 Sakuyamon. So Megidra took first, so we'll make sure we look at that. Then you had Gallantmon getting second, Phoenixmon getting third, Royal Knights, Seadramon, Megidra, Royal Knights, Gallant, Royal Knights, Megidra, Magna, Megidra, Sakuya, Megidra. All great decks across the board. We kind of come to know this is the current format. Megidramon and Gallantmon kind of just reigning supreme. They're both kind of just surprising. They haven't really done anything meta relevant for so long. It's kind of cool to see that they upped their ante. Now, this one was a little bit more challenging with the Latam offline regional. They had Megidramon at 4, Sakuyamon X at 3, 2 Royal Knights, 2 hero decks, which we're definitely going to be looking at because I'm not going to not talk about heroes. 1 blue-green Imperialdramon, Dexteruga, Dominionmon, Gallantmon X, and purple hybrid. If you notice that red-purple Imperialdramon disappeared off the face of the earth, like our two biggest major events, and they haven't made an appearance, but I guess that's because all the players went from that deck to this deck. So let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. So if we take a look here, this is more of what JP runs at a regular basis. They play with this being a surprise factor because I don't think a lot of players played the Demonic Devastation. This card is fan-frickin-tastic. Let's be honest. There's no way you're not playing it, right? You know, we got Jack Raid, Gravity Crush at 3, which seems to be the commonplace. You know, Gallant, and 1 Medieval Gallant. But they are teching in the Skull Greymon for the Hexablow matchups. This is at least being able to delete one of your opponent's Digimon at the lowest level, and one of your opponent's lowest level Digimon. So being able to pop response a Hexablow on board is really important. So at the end of the day, this is pretty stock list, what you kind of come to know and love. Nothing too out of the ordinary. This is just more JP techs. But yeah, taking a look, we got Purple Men Boost, Wisdom Training, Red Scrambles. Now, a Gallantmon list is always fun to see. This plays completely different, focusing on being able to apply pressure against your opponent with Gallantmon X, which is surprising they're not playing the promo Gallantmon, which you would kind of expect them to be doing. But yeah, great job kind of getting W's with this list. There's nothing wrong with being able to take tops with a classic. You know, Gallantmon X will always apply pressure. And now this is the Phoenixmon. I kind of figured this was what we were going to expect for a list. Why do I say this? Is just very commonplace to see this. I'm not even joking. So first off, you know, DNA with a black and yellow, you know, Blast DNA with Alphamon plus Oryukin. You're not really going to be getting that off, but they are teching in the Oryumon because it has piercing on play when digivolving the Digivolve 2 of one of your opponent's Digimon. If during an attack, one of your Digimon in breeding area may digivolve into a level 6 or lower Chronicle trait Digimon in your hand or trash without paying its cost. All turns when the security stack are removed, delete one of your opponent's Digimon at the lowest DP. I mean, it's not a bad target. It's a very powerful threat. But yeah, Phoenixmon just doing some crazy shenanigans. It's up to you how you want to build it, really, at the end of the day. There's no real wrong way to build the engine, but this starts screaming, we should probably be thinking about hitting this boy. I know for the fact people are going to say, Gallantmon X is such a balanced and fair card. The fact that you get to spit out this thing, or be able to search your pieces like Gallantmon to be able to help draw, stuff like that matters at the end of the day. And it'll start, yes, hitting Gravity Crush will slow these stupid high rolly decks off them a bit, but A lot of people are saying Gravity Crush is not the end-all be-all for these lists, so just keep that in mind. But then you have the Seadramon list, which is just basically Blue Gallant. So good to know that it was Blue Gallant. Oh, no, it is Seadramon with a splash of Hexa and Gallantmon X with Omnimon X Antibody. Just a very powerful thready deck that your opponent has to be ready to deal with. No surprise there. I mean, the deck is what it is. Then you have Armors, where, you know, Magna X Antibody is just that good of a card. And they're not playing the Armor Davis, which is kind of interesting to me, but because they're trying to get around your opponent from being able to just DP threshold this thing off the board, they use Get Eye's House to kind of just guarantee this thing sticks on the board, because once it is base, you know, 15 naturally, it kind of gets around, especially because, you know, you do have the Vmon that will boost it in threshold, and then you have the Demi V that will help it just stay alive just enough. And that's just what it needs to be able to get its defensive back up. And once the defenses are back up, it starts swinging like a freight train. So yeah, Magna's just doing Magna shenanigans. Now, Royal Knights is another one. This is the first place list. So taking a look here, you know, they're playing the Omeka. This is BT-20's Omeka, because you're playing the cool boy to be able to do all the shenanigans with the Royal Knights. I wouldn't be surprised eventually, you know, 7 Great Demon Lords kind of gets some sort of boost that's similar to like Omnimon X and stuff like that. The deck is very powerful. Your opponent's, there's just so much toolboxy, depends on what you think is going to be important in the meta. There's no real wrong way of building Royal Knights. It's basically play this Omeka guaranteed, play this Magna guaranteed, make sure you play X Antibody and Omnimon and Gallantmon. The rest, and then play Last Guardian and Knights of the Royal Purge and Cool Boy. Rest is whatever you think is going to fit in your list. There's no wrong way of building the deck. Now, Blue-Green Imperialdramon, always doing something. This deck's not going to phase out. Just Davis and Ken just showing why this deck is good is always what it's going to be. You know, being able to tell your opponent, I decide what I play, and just Jogress into, you know, DNA Digivolve into Imperialdramon, being able to Source Strip is really good, especially with the XVmon and Stigmon, and they look comboed off with this Dragon mode. If they go into this Dragon mode, you know, they're going to combo off again and just hit you for a lot of damage, and it's very commonplace that this happens. So they should have hit one of these boys to slow the deck down, not just this one. Now, Heroes is very interesting. There's not many times you can say that there's a confident list with Heroes, but this one is definitely a confident one. To be honest with you, this is very commonplace when you're looking at Heroes. You'll play the Guri, you'll play the Vmon, Guilmon, and Aguni, just because the Aguni is just a very powerful target because you want to be able to swing game with hybrid shenanigans, really commonplace. You know, you play the Archetype because it combos nicely with Heroes, and it's a new one. And then you have this Archetype Superior Mode, being able to attack and deal damage as well. So all leads up to being something, but what's really spicy is playing the Gotcha package. They don't mention much on the hero department, but because they are a hero traded, if I remember, with, you know, you have Gotchamon here. Yep, hero. It matches it for the Evolve line. Then you have this one's Gotchamon, Navi. You know, being able to devolve for 3 costs, which I don't think you're going to very often do the 3 cost. But at the end of the day, they were making this deck work, right? It's being 2 colors and then climbing up to Gaiomon being your top end. Not a bad trade-off. Like, nothing's wrong with this because, let's be honest, you gain advantage through the hero. So you get 1 if your opponent has something. This one, you know, start to main one of your Digimon or Tamer, may Digivolve. So that might be for its reduced cost, but then you have the Tigeru being able to save, you know, put something with save underneath, and boom. Or the hero trait from your hand under this Tamer, draw a card, gain a memory. So Tigeru is going to extend your plays. I mean, I don't have full confidence on what this deck does, but It's pretty cool that the hero version with the Appley is kind of did the best so far. Then you have, this is very out of the ordinary, right? We haven't seen or heard from Dexteruga Purple in God knows how long, right? This deck is kind of disappeared off the format just because, let's be honest, the format wasn't heavy ace enough anymore. And there was just so many more scary booty threats that this deck had some trouble dealing with. But I think, you know, Royal Knight heavy, Megidramon heavy, you know, this deck has ways of protecting itself and keeping itself on the board where then it can answer response. So if you're walking into a heavy Megidramon meta, maybe Dexteruga is good to dust off. I think there's potential. You have access to really powerful tamers, and now your Dexteruga, as long as you have a way of getting your Code Cracker Fang and Hacker Judge, if you have that on the board, when this thing comes down, they can Mind Link, and boom, you'll be able to trigger its on play, its ability for its on play, because that was always a challenge, you know, being able to get that stun lock going. So it's kind of cool to see where they went with it, and I think it's a smart move. Here's three Great Angels. Oh, Shadow Seraphimon Ace, Trubimon Ace, Dominionmon, and then they are teching in Chaos Volderarm. The deck is really good. There's nothing out of the ordinary for this. This is just how the deck plays out. You know, Gallantmon again. Did they just decide to be spicy one of eggs? Yeah, that's why. God, you gotta love people. This is funny. This is just every egg under the book, so you never know which egg they're gonna have ready to go. Again, Gallantmon doesn't really care about its eggs. Now, here's another big one. We'll look at a Sakuyamon list, but I think everybody knows what Sakuya looks like. But another hero list that follows suit with the Gacha, Do-Gacha, Globemon, and Gaiamon. Not many lists will actually play these, which, again, they were focusing on Seriousmon or Shine Greymon top end or the Crossheart top end. So it's kind of interesting to see that the Gacha versions were doing well. Maybe it's something we should be testing out, because this feels like this is the first major event that Heroes has ever topped in BT-21. So yeah, I don't know, guys. You tell me. But let's get boring Sakuyamon out of the way. Which one? You're not the highest. This one should be the highest. Yeah, we'll take a look at Sakuyamon X, because this is a high one. So let's see where this one landed. Oh, they're playing the Rika. They're playing Rika. I was surprised. I was expecting no Rika, and everyone was going to just copy and paste the list that topped in our meta. No, they didn't go with the Canada top. Good for you. At least that was just a slight hiccup, I think. But at the end of the day, Sakuyamon is a very powerful deck, and I think the meta is in a good spot. There's nothing wrong with how we have things. I think there might be some sort of slap coming to Gallant and Megidra. Something has to get hit with this dude. Like, eventually this deck has to be slapped. But all in all, this deck should probably get hit. But Heroes getting some tops and love, I think that's going to change up things. I think we're in a good spot in the format. But at the end of the day, let me know what your thoughts are. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Peace.